Blue Beetle is a movie that basically has flopped at the box office. Like, and you might say, well, it's sort of made back his budget. Like, right, well, it was made for about 120 million, which is more than the 80 million it was initially commissioned for as a HBO Max exclusive a couple of years ago. And then they said, oh, this looks really good, let's put it out in theaters, and we'll pump in a little bit of extra money, maybe we'll put a marketing campaign behind it. All in all, I think if you add in the like, let's say a 30-40 million dollar marketing campaign, which didn't have the benefit of the stars promoting it because of the SAG after strike, but nonetheless, the overall, I think Warner Brothers is in for around 150 odd million dollars on this movie. As of the time that we're filming this video, they've made only around 121.5 million at the global box office, and by the time that this movie comes out of theaters, which we now know it looks like is going to streaming on on September 26th, and then on October 31st it's going to be out on Blu-ray, and then somewhere between those two dates, I bet it's going to be on Max for streaming. That's not a lot of time for it to go from 121.5 million, let's say, to what it probably needs to do, which is close to 200 million to break even. Because when it comes down to it, at the box office, you need to make like 150% of your budget to sort of break even, because a bunch of that money from box office receipts goes to the theaters and the distributors. So basically, Warner Brothers makes only around 65-70% on average from the box office receipts. So right now, if it's sitting at 120 million, that just means that Warner Brothers has made back maybe a little over half of what, or not even half. Like, they probably made like two-thirds at best of what they've actually invested in this movie. Now, I will say, John, that's a lot better than if they just put it on streaming and then took an $80 million hit. But what do you think about the fact that now we know this movie is going to be out on streaming on September 26th, where you can get it on iTunes, you can buy it on your Google and Play Store, or if you have Voodoo or any of those other digital retailers, and then you only have to wait about an extra month for October 31st, when you can go to your local Target, Walmart, or wherever, Best Buy, wherever you get your Blu-rays from, or you can get it from Amazon. Um, is this a movie that has any potential to recover, like, whatever money it's lost at the box office through its digital and Blu-ray release?
I think so because the thing that Blue Beetle has that The Flash doesn't have is positive audience reception and positive critical reception. So I feel like word of mouth is going to boost those numbers up a little bit. Hopefully, in home media, I know physical media has kind of been on a downturn, but I think that and digital, like on Vudu and stuff like that, I think it'll go up. I think it's very hopeful when it comes to Blue Beetle, because I noticed when it was first coming out, test screenings were positive, first previews were positive, everything about this movie was positive. I very much enjoyed the movie when I went to go see it in theaters. So I feel like positive word of mouth is definitely going to help it, and it's good. I feel like it's going to get high streaming numbers, high digital numbers, and relatively good physical media numbers, because I feel like it's gotten a lot of positive traction with audiences.
Yeah, look, I can definitely see that. At last check, the Rotten Tomatoes score for the critics score was 78%, and the audience score was sitting, I think, like 92%.
Yeah,
So those are pretty good numbers. I think 78% is definitely lower than where it was when it was like in its first couple of weeks of release. That number came down. I think it was definitely in the 80s, or like certainly in the first week of release, it was in the 90s. So it's still, let's say, certified fresh. That's a good deal,
yeah,
and that means 78% of the critics liked the movie, and recommended it to other people. So I'll agree with you. I think this movie has more of a potential to have a renaissance in streaming, kind of similar to what Elemental and Little Mermaid have done on Disney Plus. Both of
yeah,
those movies, now, granted, both of those movies made a lot more money than Blue Beetle at the box office, and especially Elemental, which had a really slow start, but then over time recovered
yeah,
fantastically well. And then The Little Mermaid too kind of like snuck up on, and when you look at its final theatrical number, it was like, oh, really? It made that much money?
yeah,
So all in all, despite the fact that they underperformed at the box office, they've been on Disney Plus now for a couple of weeks, and they're broken records. And this is something that, I mean, I think with Disney is more common, because they have this like family audience that sometimes just doesn't get to go out to the theater to watch these movies, and they just wait until it's out on Disney Plus. I don't know if that same effect is gonna be applicable for Blue Beetle and Max, but like you said, the positive reception, the 92% audience score, I think is a huge boon for this film
Yeah.
because I bet you there's a lot of people who either didn't go to see the movie in theater at all, or they went to see it once and then they just didn't go to see it again, or like, I don't know, they got caught up in Barbenheimer a few more times, or something else to that effect. So I bet you, yeah, that this will probably do better than The Flash did, because The Flash had like the lowest streaming numbers, if I remember correctly, of
Yeah.
any recent, Max release, like including all the DC ones, and even like the Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman 1984, which were day and date releases, so they were in theaters while they were playing on streaming, and like even Black Adam, like the Flash's numbers were pretty terrible for streaming. I think it was like a million or something, which was like a fourth of what some of those other movies had made. Whereas like you said, I think Blue Beetle potentially could have like a second coming, if you will, on streaming, which would be
Yeah.
fantastic. Because just to kind of wrap this conversation, I wanted to kind of quickly ask you, what do you think about the character now that you've seen the movie? I'm sure you've seen the movie in theaters, and you're probably looking forward to it, like I am, to watching it at home. It's a movie that introduces a character which has been popular amongst DC fans for a while. He's been in a
Yeah.
bunch of DC animated projects. We know James Gunn has mentioned on multiple occasions, including like when he went to see the movie on I think it was the red carpet or the blue carpet, not like a premiere, but like he went to one of the higher profile screenings of it early on, and he mentioned in a Threads post that this is going to be a character that's going to be a big part of the DCU in the future.
Yeah.
So how do you see this character moving forward? We know, of course, in some of the post-credit scenes, they kind of teased a few things for the future
Yeah.
of this character as well. Do you feel like this particular iteration of the character is going to move forward into the new DCU continuity, or is this really it? We're just going to kind of leave him behind, and whatever version we get in the future is going to be different than what we have seen in this movie.
I think the going back to the positive reception, I think that's gonna turn some eyes, turn some faces, and be like, okay, clearly this is a loved character because like DC fans, comic fans have loved this character, have loved Jaime for years. In addition to Ted Cord, they would want to. I feel like they fell in love with the character. Movie fans fell in love with the character. Like, okay, now we want to see more. And I God knows I want to see more. I've been a big fan of Cobra Kai for a while, and I feel like Zolo Marduena did an excellent job in the role. And I feel like this could be, I know there's many differences, but I feel like this could be, in terms of the age and his personality, DC Spider-Man in a way. So I feel like that could resonate with a lot of people. That could resonate with a lot of fans, like Spider-Man does. Obviously, not will never be as popular as Spider-Man, but I feel like people have said like, "Hey, we want to see this guy. We want to see more of him." And then, of course, hardcore DC fans were like, "Hey, we want to see Ted Cord. We definitely want to see Ted Cord." So I think that'll be really fun, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people.
I agree with you. Absolutely. This is a character that I thoroughly enjoyed in the movie. He's got that, yeah, like very much those Spider-Man sensibilities, and whether it was like his romantic interest in the movie with I think Bruno Marquezine is the name of the actress who plays what's it, Jenny Cord, and just like the awkward nature of that, I made the comparison that that relationship felt the most authentic on screen relationship in a superhero movie that I've seen since like the Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and Gwen Stacy dynamic. So I'm looking forward to seeing like if how they move forward with this character. I would love to, even if they just made a Max series out of this, like
Oh yeah, that could be
just
good.
make a, I don't know, like 12 episode season, and because this is the kind of character that you could just make, like from a budgetary standpoint, like he's got a physical suit. It's not a lot of ton of CGI there, unless of course he's flying or doing anything crazy like that. So you could definitely take this character and sprinkle him across the new DCU continuity. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's hope that the digital release and the Blu-ray release, that, so just to
Yeah.
let you guys know again, September 26th is a digital release, and then on October 31st it's going to be out on Blu-ray, and I'm sure somewhere in between those two dates you might see it on HBO Max as well, or Max as they call it now. So I'm hoping that it will have a good buzz there, and who knows, maybe it will have a second coming on streaming. So guys, let us know in the comments below what you think, and of course, like, subscribe for more comments like this. If you're excited to see Blue Beetle at home, let us know, and I'm sure we'll be talking about him again in the future.